Good morning, everyone. This is Bill Keegan, Town Manager in Foxboro, with your latest COVID-19 update. So, looking at the numbers early this morning, we will see that we're still at 111 cases since March 15th. Total recovered is 87 cases. Positive cases. Total positive cases right now is 10. Which is not changed, unchanged from yesterday. 13 total cases have been lost during the follow-up phase, and 895 people have been tested and tested negative since COVID-19 has come about. We still have 2 people in the hospital, and we've only had 1 death since the COVID-19 epidemic has hit Foxboro. So those are the latest numbers we have in the state. Looking around Norfolk County, looks like we are 8,586 cases, 841 deaths associated with the cases in Norfolk County. Numbers have not moved that much, or rather significantly, during that period of time. So numbers have not changed rather dramatically at all in the past 24 hours. So that's good to see that they're stating that they're getting very stable and not seeing a lot of movement. I've looked at some of the statewide numbers, and numbers are continuing to go down, which is really good to see that on many different levels. And wanted to be able to at least share that with you on that basis. All right, so let's take a look at what today's report says. On Monday, Governor Charlie Baker issued an executive order that provides a detailed list of businesses and activities that fall into Phase 2, 3, and 4 of the Commonwealth's reopening plan. In addition to the retail sector, the executive order details further requirements for states' resumption of amateur youth, adult sports, and outdoor dining. Effective immediately, the executive order permits Phase 2 businesses to reopen their physical workplaces to workers only to conduct necessary preparations prior to the start of Phase 2. Preparations include, but are not limited to, completing a full COVID-19 control plan, implementing sector-specific protocols, and complying with mandatory workplace safety standards. On the retail end, retail stores will transition from curbside pickup and delivery only to browsing and in-store transactions with restrictions at the start of Phase 2. Start of Phase 2 we think is going to happen on June 8th, which is less than 7 days from today. So we hopefully will see that happen, but obviously it depends on the numbers, and we think right now the numbers are trending in the right direction, so let's hope that's the case. Social distancing guidelines requires each retail store to monitor customer entries and exits, and limits occupancy at all times to either 8 persons, including store staff, per 1,000 square feet of accessible indoor space, or 40% of the retail store's maximum permitted occupancy, whichever is greater. So again, that's either 8 persons, including store staff, per 1,000 square feet of accessible indoor space, or 40% of the retail store's maximum permitted occupancy, whichever is greater. Grocery stores and retail stores with pharmacy services must provide at least 1 hour of dedicated time for adults 60 years of age or older, while all stores are encouraged to offer exclusive hours or other accommodations for high-risk populations. For staffing, stores should adjust workplace hours and shifts, including leveraging staggered arrival and departure times to minimize contact across workers, and to allow for ongoing and off-hour sanitation and cleaning. Stores should also conduct frequent disinfecting in heavy transit areas and high-touch surfaces. Operators of enclosed shopping malls and other indoor multi-tenant retail spaces must monitor customer service and customer and worker entries and exits to common areas, and limit occupancy of common areas at all times to the 40% of maximum permitted occupancy space. Mall amenities like seating and food courts, children's play areas, and arcades must remain closed, while mall food vendors and restaurants may only provide takeout or delivery service. Once Phase 2 begins, these standards will apply to all retail businesses except for farmers markets, which shall continue to be governed by the Department of Public Health guidance. These standards will supersede and replace existing Department of Public Health guidance governing grocery stores and pharmacies. Retailers that have been defined as providing essential services pursuant to COVID-19, Order number 13 will be required to comply with all these sector-specific safety protocols within 1 week of the day the retailers are authorized to open pursuant to the governor's Phase 2 reopening order. Sports. The order also allows organizers of amateur sports for youths and adults to open their premises to staff only to make preparation in advance of the start of Phase 2. In addition to requiring generally applicable COVID-19 workplace standards, the order specifies that during Phase 2, organized sports programs will operate under the following provisions: limited traditional contact sports to no contact drills and practices, prohibiting games, scrimmages, and tournaments, separating participants into groups of 10 or less, restricting the use of indoor athletic facilities to supervise sports programs and sports camps for youths under the age of 18. Further sector-specific guidance for youth and adult amateur sports programs will be issued in the coming days, subject to the implementation of COVID-19 health and safety rules adopted by respective leagues. This order permits professional sports organizations to reopen their premises to employees and other workers for practices and training. However, the professional sports organizations are not allowed to engage in inter-team games, and sporting facilities will remain closed to the public. Restaurants, and lastly, the order permits restaurants to provide outdoor dining service with restrictions upon the start of Phase 2, providing continued positive progression of public health data. Indoor dining may be authorized by a subsequent order during Phase 2 in order to provide improved opportunities for outdoor table service. The order also provides flexibility to local licensing authority to grant approval for a change of any type of license that permits the sale of alcohol beverages for on-premises consumption. In both outdoor and indoor dining cases, restaurants will be required to comply with sector-specific COVID-19 workplace safety rules for the restaurant. So this is actually really important information, because up until now, the only way you could actually change to outdoor dining is if you file for an alteration of premises with the local licensing authority, which in this case would be the Board of Selectmen. That process would then go through a hearing process, and then if approved, would then go back to the ABCC for their inspection, and that process could take several weeks, if not months, given the number of cases that they would have before them. And in this case, that's the step with the ABCC has been delayed and eliminated, by the way, for the time being, until I think of November, if I'm not mistaken. That will be the time in which that will no longer be required at this point in time. So we'll see what happens, but we're going to work through the process to get this done, so we can provide restaurants the opportunity to open sooner rather than later. So we're working on that very issue this week. And so I'm going to forego the rest of this, because most of the stuff is all things that we've already seen before. I'll just give you a quick rundown of some of the numbers again. Today the state saw, yesterday I should say, that 3,840 new reported positive cases of COVID-19 in the Commonwealth, with 100,805 total cases and 189 reported deaths as of yesterday at 4 p.m. The average new cases over the last 7 days is 574, and the average number of deaths is 68. The 7-day weighted average positive test rate in Massachusetts is 6.8%. 1,747 individuals hospitalized with COVID-19 statewide. That's a decrease of 77 from yesterday, actually the day before. The Department of Public Health regularly releases daily reporting dashboard, and that information I'm going to be reporting fairly regularly from now on. This report is going to change a little bit, so John Robinson, who's been doing this, has been actually going to be working on trying to get some of the businesses back open. So he's going to shift his responsibilities, and I'll be working off what I get from the state in terms of some of the trending numbers, and so I'll be providing you with more information on those things as they come forward to me. And so that's the latest information that I have. We are clearly trending in the right direction. Good to see that the numbers continue to stay down, and it's also good to see that Foxboro's numbers have not been impacted negatively at all in the past week or two, seeing those numbers come down rather significantly. So that's the latest information that I have for you. I will be back with you again tomorrow morning with some further information, and see if the numbers have changed in any direction, one way or the other. And if they do, we will certainly report that to you. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of the day. It's supposed to be a really nice day today, so get out there and enjoy it if you can. And I'll see you right back here tomorrow morning. Until then, take care.